Hey guys, I missed a few points on my previous video, but some things have come up, and this sort of reiterates what I said before. But in addition to this, I have several new sort of points I wanted to make. First of all, his latest content has highlighted the fact that he essentially sees people in the fandom as just a resource for him to use in whatever conflict he may have. And the second thing I wanted to cover was the metaphysics of how Kero's specific take on cancel culture is something I find really insincere. So you guys may have heard that Kero has basically released a video regarding cancel culture, but you may ask yourself why this topic in particular. And something you have to realize is every piece of content has a reason for being created. And from what I see, Kero has essentially realized that his audience at this point isn't large enough to save his skin. Although his existing fan base may be fanatical, he realizes that they're not numerous enough that even if they died on a hill for him, there wouldn't be enough of them to cocoon him from the consequences. But if you think about it, in a Machiavellian sense, the best option for him is basically to find other people that will fight on his behalf. And he sees that opportunity in this dialogue with cancel culture, basically. And the question that I would have for him is, out of all the times you could have talked about this, why would you talk about it now? I know that was a rhetorical question, but there is a good reason for this. If you think about the situation prior to the evidence regarding zoo sadism coming out, before 2018, he would be in a privileged position where this sort of thing wouldn't really be relevant to him because it doesn't affect him. He would have had a much larger audience to protect him from any sort of cancellation. In fact, it would be against his interest to be talking about cancel culture, since he would be in the position to cancel others. Again, he could have used his large audience to attack others smaller than him, or maybe one of us peasants. So obviously he didn't want to get rid of that privilege. And the few times he did address problems that doesn't affect him, he discounted the problems of people less privileged than him and gaslighted them. You know what I mean, right? Like fursuits don't matter, and if you're lonely, just talk to people on the internet. Yeah, sure, the advice may sound good intention on the surface, but it's oftentimes from a position of privilege and it can't really apply to a lot of people at the bottom of the social hierarchy.
And just like that, I was accepted into the community.
Hi, I'm Kero. Don't forget to buy my merch. It's all made by you guys, fan art. And I'm just selling it back to you. You should be grateful for it. And don't forget to donate on my Patreon.
Meanwhile, the audience says,
Ahilk, thank you so much, God Emperor Kero. You're so generous. Take all my money.
if only it was that simple. And once all the evidence regarding the situation came out, things were flipped on its head, as far as he was concerned. All of a sudden, problems that affected us normal people started affecting him. And this is where the insincerity comes into play. Like, this is the sort of poppy for entitlement that makes my brain explode. When this cancel culture thing didn't affect him, as far as he was concerned, it didn't exist, and he never talked about it. And when he found himself in a position where he doesn't have all the social resources in the world, it becomes a problem all of a sudden, so he expects all of us to bend over backwards and protect him for that. To put it simply, he basically expected the entire community, or at least a large portion of the community, to reflect his opinions, since he was used to having all that power, which he took for granted. And obviously his attempt on this strategy has failed, since this has essentially backfired on him due to his insufficient influence. As far as I know, the last option he has at this point is to essentially get people to fight on his behalf from a top-down sort of model. Rather than appealing to an idea of some sort, he appeals to specific people. He tries to find people that are at least minor influencers that he has influenced in the past that may fight on his behalf. To solidify this, Kero attempts to bribe them with perceived status or perceived endorsement of some kind.
A friend of mine did a really great video about this and explains it way better than I can.
For a short time, but it also gives them the option to lie low, change their name, and try again when the heat dies down, rather than have to deal with heavy fines and even incarceration for what they've done.
Link is in the description if you want to see.
Link is in the description if you want to see the full. Link is in the description if you want to see the full.
Insincerity. a friend of mine.
Just a little tangent, but maybe Kero should follow the advice of this guy he influenced. Maybe he should delete his channel, or at least abandon his channel and come back as someone with no reputation. But that's the thing he's not doing, for a good reason. He mentioned earlier that he just wants to join the community. Sure, he can do that, but he won't have a reputation. So yeah, when he said he just wants to be in the community for the sake of it, that's not what he wants. He wants to keep his status. That's the real thing at stake. To be honest, the only reason Kero the Wolf is putting up this fight is so he can basically maintain his status as a poppy fur and continuously exploit his fans for more money. And he realized that if he does try to create a new reputation, he's not going to be able to do that since he can't show his voice anymore. The second reason is, even if he did have the ability to create content to increase his reputation, he isn't going to be able to recreate the conditions which allowed him to gain the success he did, especially at this stage in the furry community. It's not like he can just go on Vine and post the exact same things that he did and go viral again. So to wrap things up, Kero is essentially doing everything he can to preserve his brand, and that's all. This is with disregard with any ethical concerns in mind, since that's not going to help him preserve his reputation. So after all he's done, he doesn't even want to give up an inch of his influence in the community. So literally get away with everything without any consequences. And again, thank you for watching this video. As far as I know, I've said everything I needed to regarding this topic.